A very good morning to all of you, and let's welcome Dr. Sudeepto Roy. He will be speaking on deep tech to lasting impact, entrepreneurship on the road to 6G. What's important that we met some time back, and he leads basically the IP portfolios and promotes his startup, and he has supported more than 350 deep tech. So today's call will be mostly that how can utilize Qualcomm chips and a number of initiatives, including a number of on the IPs, for the promoting academia, industry collaborations, research, and also develop products from the India, for the India, and for the world. With this, I think welcome you, sir. The format will be that 45 minutes. You can give us your perspective, how you see technology, and then subsequently, I have already shared some questions with you, so you may try to cover those. And any of our users, they can post the questions in the chat box, which will be taking up subsequently after 45 minutes in a structured question answer session. So I'm sure that I request all to, other than the speakers, to mute themselves. And with this, I hand over to Sudeepto Roy. Over to you, sir. Welcome and namaskar to all.
Namaskar, Jai Hind, everyone. Pathakji, thank you very much for bringing me to this August audience of Bharat 6G Alliance. I want to start with a provocative comment, and that is that 6G will not be remembered as a faster 5G. It will be remembered for the moment when connectivity stopped being just a pipe and became a learning substrate for the entire world. So, this learning substrate is what I will speak about and how to realize that through the vision and the hard work of startups. So, in the 2030s, in the decade that will follow us, networks will not just carry packets. They will coordinate perception, they will coordinate compute and control across billions of endpoints, right? Today, we're talking about few tens of tens of billions. We're talking about possibly hundreds of billions of endpoints. But this creates a paradox. As you know, the technology for 6G is well underway. The R&D is well underway. Standards are gearing up. There are vigorous discussions in standards bodies. Spectrum debates are alive. But to realize the true value of 6G, it will be the cases that matter. Just like it is fairly common to hear from mobile users that मेरे फोन पे तो 5G आ गया है but पता नहीं चल रहा है 5G का क्या मुझे दिख रहा है. So many people say that I have 5G on my phone, but I really don't perceive what's the value. And to them, I tell them that look around you. Everyone is able to download a 4K video. Everyone can be simultaneously on a video call. Look at locations where without fiber, people are able to use wireless internet. This is the magic of 5G. Only problem is that people don't perceive this entirely on their phones. And with 6G, it will be perceived more and more by machines, right? So in a way, it is the use cases of these for industry, for agriculture, for healthcare, for retail, for consumer, for government. This is where it will matter. In fact, I would say 6G is more for founders than in a way after the magic of telco fades, 6G will become more for founders. So my goal is very simple today. I will make the case that entrepreneurship is the critical path to realizing 6G's value, And frankly, the time to start is now in here in 2026. Even though 6G is 2029, the time to start is now. So let's start with a look back at the evolution of mobile systems. As this particular audience knows very well, each wireless generation that preceded us unlocked a new economic era. Remember the days of BlackBerry and 3G? That was the first taste of mobile data. Then came the apps ecosystem and streaming in 4G. 5G, as I said, brought us unlimited data, right? Now no one talks about data caps and data throttling, right? And then in the 2030s, the vision will be different. Exactly in about 1,000 days or so from today, there will be a new RAN that will be deployed. And this RAN is defined on around three pillars. First, it's about massive wideband connectivity. Second, it is about high performance AI and compute. But you have heard that before. You have heard about wideband and compute in 5G. AI is the new dimension, but the truly new dimension in the RAN, when you talk about the radio access network, is actually wide area sensing. The ability to sense from a variety of endpoints and interact is actually the magic of 6G. And this will actually drive a new class of what we are calling as AI enabled devices. And I'll elaborate on that. So, by some estimates, wireless network traffic is expected to grow by 3 to 7 times of what we see today. And roughly a third of that will be because of AI. So, kind of think about it. Even if you take the lower end of my estimate, effectively what we are saying is that the amount of non AI data traffic that is carried by mobile wireless networks today will be entirely carried because of AI, right? That is at the minimum would be what AI will contribute and what will drive 6G. In the best case, doubling of that will be what AI will contribute in the broader 6G network. So the need is massive, and the need for a RAN that can actually handle this kind of traffic is very apparent. And within this network, there will be agents that will require real time context. They will require continuous environmental awareness. And they will require large visual, audio, and sensor models that increasingly rely on personal and situational data that is processed near the source, not in the deep cloud, but to a processor that is closest to the source of origination and consumption of that data. And this is the core motivation for the 6G RAN design, radio access network design. And the early signals of this were visible at MWC earlier in this week. Qualcomm demonstrated technologies like GigaMIMO. So this is massive antenna arrays that allow for more effective utilization of the available channel for beamforming, probabilistic shaping of the beams, subband full duplex. So this allows for improved throughput, also for helps with better uplink. And then early RF alignment between both the base station and the EUVs is another area. And then as a way to herald these capabilities, we released the world's first Release 19, 5G still, 5G advanced, Release 19 capable modem called X105 with some very early agentic AI capabilities. And frankly, this is what we are recommending to the inventor, founder, startup community to start thinking about those agentic AI use cases in the RAN context. Now, Pathakji already shared a few audience questions that I will keep referring to throughout each relevant slide of my talk. So some of those were about the 6G systems design, and really one thing to keep in mind about 6G is that as we move from the static channel abstractions in 5G, we are moving towards a learned, environment aware, and measurement anchored model in 6G. So the research for this kind of work is happening in multiple areas. It's AI native radios, it's in advanced RF design, it's in integrated sensing, it's in distributed compute at the application layer, and it's also for energy efficient architectures. We all know that data centers are humongous users of power. Probably that kind of power energy doesn't even exist in the grids today, not only in terms of generation, but also in terms of transmission and substations. So we have to make sure that 6G is actually a very responsible custodian of the scarce resource of energy. And there was another question about integration of other forms of wireless networks. So you bet satellites, drones, and other HAPs will be treated as a single integrated network fabric where the distributed intelligence will reduce the backhaul rigidity that currently plague at least the NSA 5G systems. So the main thing to realize is that in 6G, the cross-layer AI control plane, this is where we will see some system-level breakthroughs, right? So the main takeaway from this slide is that whereas the technology of 6G is being designed, the standards are being thought about, we have a pretty good vision of where we want 6G to be. 6G is not going to be merely a thicker 5G pipe, but it's going to be a living network. It's going to be like a digital nervous system that will continuously learn and adapt across billions of intelligent devices in real time, right? So this is the challenge as members of this 6G community. This is the challenge and vision that we have to fulfill. So, with that in mind, let me turn into how this translates into devices that we use in day to day life. Today, in the planet, you could say that there are at least about 20 billion end devices, and these are some of these devices are listed over here: handsets, connected laptops, smart glasses, both AR and VR, various kinds of AI enabled personal wearables, from bands to hearing aids to earbuds. The field of automotive is exploding with the use of AI. Certainly, smarter Wi Fi routers, smarter base stations, edge networking. Big areas, industrial IoT as well as robotics, and obviously the inference class data center, right? And for all of these, the trifecta of technologies that are coming together, that are stitching these devices together, are connectivity, high performance but low power computing, and then leading edge AI. In fact, I would say that if you think about the future of VR and AR glasses that are being envisaged in 6G, the amount of data that would be needed for a holographic image that can be seen on an AR glass and that can be in real time, effectively, it will be a digital twin of something that you physically see, right? For it to be rendered, we have to create a digital twin. And that twin, to have the fidelity with the environment that it operates in, will require a network that has the bandwidth, that has the low latency and the intelligence to compute the characteristics of that hologram and interact with that environment. That will require the capabilities of 6G. So however, these are good devices. What matters are the chips and the software stacks that actually underlie these devices. And that is the vision that we bring to the entire ecosystem that we work with. Our ecosystem is broad. We start with STEM education in middle and high school through platforms such as Arduino. Some of you may or may not know that we welcomed Arduino to the Qualcomm family about 5 months ago. And the reason we brought Arduino into Qualcomm is to be able to seed edge AI pretty much from middle school and high school environments where students are taking their first steps towards embedded computing. And that's where we want to embed AI so that students of the future are AI native from the get go. We are working obviously with very closely with universities, with developers, and particularly within my team in Qualcomm, we focus with early stage startups because early stage startups we find are the most innovative before they reach the scale stage. And of course, Qualcomm is blessed with customers, big, small, and the giants of the world, and a variety of partners who take these products and services and put them into deployment in multiple industries, multiple countries. And we provide end-to-end platforms for developers to build this side of the wireless network. Obviously, many people like to develop on the cloud, nothing wrong with that, but it is actually, frankly, more difficult um, to do good engineering for memory, power, space, thermal constraint devices. But there are billions of such devices, so it's actually a good environment to operate in for an engineer. And to help engineers, besides developer platforms, we provide a series of developer solutions and tools. Some of them that are listed over here allow for taking a very large multi-billion, like even a trillion parameter model, and compress it to few billion parameters without a big hit to accuracy, but certainly be able to fit into the profiles of these battery operated yet powerful devices, right? So this entire stack of platforms, software, operating systems, model converters, AI agent orchestrators is what we offer to this ecosystem, from STEM education to partners. And again, in the rest of the presentation, I'll focus particularly about startups. So now moving to India specifically, we are blessed with a very rich operating environment for nearly a decade. By the way, Qualcomm just finished close to 3 decades in India. We've been proud to be associated with every G transition, starting with CDMA in India, and here at the doorstep of 6G. So, as a person of Indian origin, as an Indian, I'm very proud to be associated with the developer community. And what a ride it has been. We have, for the last decade, we have worked very closely with various branches of the Indian government, certainly DOT that Pathakji is from, with DPIIT, with MIT, with CPAM within DPIIT, with Department of Science and Technology, with CDAC, with Niti Aayog. We have worked on incubating startups. We've worked on helping women founders of startups in their journey. In fact, 25% or more of our startups are founded or led by women scientists and engineers and business persons. We operate labs in our Bangalore-based operation to support startups. Our university team, headed by Mr. Dr. Dhananjay Gore in Bangalore, he actually runs our Qualcomm Innovation Fellowships, within which we have a specific 6G track that we started nearly 3 years ago, actually, in India. So there are a lot of researchers, professors, postdocs. Some of you are probably in the call who are associated with Qualcomm's University 6G research program. And then my team also incubates semiconductor startups. And a couple of years ago, we worked closely with the Department of Telecom's 5G use case lab initiative. We have actually reached out to all 100 of them, and we have incubated a fourth of these labs, right? So my team has had the privilege to work with, I think, 26 of the 100 5G use case labs. So we have been privileged to work with 150 startups, over 150 startups in India. That represents about 2% of the deep tech startups in the country. But the interesting thing is that, being Qualcomm, we also teach them how to protect their own innovations through patenting. Back in 2016, we had one startup file a patent from our community. In a recent year, we had 200 patents filed by startups. In fact, our startups have filed over 750 patents by last count. The number is actually larger than that. And that represents 5% of all patents filed by startups in the country. We are equally proud of this achievement as the startups themselves are of their hard work. So this actually speaks to the latent potential of innovation and commercialization in the country. So with that background in mind, I will dive into actually the use cases, the main part of my talk today, as to how startups have built their use cases around robust 5G networks. So these startups in India, I'm talking about these 150 startups, represent the entire breadth and depth of industries in the country, from aerospace, agriculture, automotive, all the way, obviously, to healthcare, smart industry, software apps, right? So Indian startups are very innovative. They find interesting use cases that not only are applicable to India, but also for the Middle East, for Europe, for US, in Oceania, in Australia, and also in East Asia. So we are able to not only help startups uh, go from prototype to their first commercial product, but we're also able to help them to go global beyond India. And many of them have received very successful commercial successes, exits. Some of them are at Series B stage focus, and given the recent drive for applications for national security, many of the startups are also well involved in contributing to national security needs, right? So, with this rich palette of startups, I will speak about one very important component about the why this startup successful. Recently, we had the opportunity to partner with the Confederation of Indian Industries (CII), and CII commissioned did a research study for the IP generation by about half of these startups. They picked about 88 startups from our cohorts, and and they studied like what are the reasons for their commercial success when you have IP intensive deep tech startups, right? And what they found is that having strong R&D focus is actually very, very important, because the R&D focus contributes to a long-term roadmap, and that long-term roadmap is deep, it's defensible. Also, productization of that R&D feeds into this cycle. And by teaching about IP mentorship early and providing that training, what we find is that the startups gain confidence that, hey, it's not just me saying that I have something defensible. I've gone through the examination of the Indian Patent Office, of global patent offices, and my invention is novel, unique, and it's actually useful, right? This is the confidence they have. And with that confidence, they're able to go to VCs and other funders and say that, look, I have something unique and important that actually validates the vision that we have and the inventions that we have. And what we find is that some of the startups who go through multi-jurisdictional hardening, which means they have patents not only examined by Indian examiners in Europe, in the US, in China, it actually improves the quality of the patents. And once they get their first patent through multiple jurisdictions, they get better at it, and their invention quality, their patent quality actually self improves because of this experience, right? So, what we are finding is that it's not causation, but there is a correlation of R&D and IP with commercialization success and the ability to secure funding. Deep tech is difficult. India has close to 1.8 lakh startups. Do you know how many of those startups are deep tech? About 6,300, right? If you contrast that with other parts of the world, China is about 10,000 deep tech startups. In the US, here we have about 26,000 deep tech startups. I'm not saying India's startup numbers are anything to sneeze at. All I'm saying is that there is a big latent need, as demonstrated by just merely 88 startups that CII did their study about. If you want to download this free report, you can go to the QR code, or if the QR code is not visible, you can go to the CII website and look for this study. Now, I spoke about the importance of IP as a key contributor to deep tech startups. But in order to build the capabilities, we need to have a set of tools that helps with IP awareness. And this is another area that we invested heavily in. And this time around, we had the privilege of working with India's best law universities. We have launched a free and online platform called L2 Pro India. It has been operational for the last 5 years, and it provides a palette of courses, mainly a comprehensive IP course and a course on entrepreneurship, building your business using IP. And in the coming quarter, we'll be launching a IP Essentials course that we have written with a National Law University. In fact, both of these first two courses we have written with National law universities, and particularly of interest to the Bharat 6G Alliance community. We are writing a course on standard essential patents, and this is being authored largely by BITS Law School, started by Professor Ashish Bharadwaj, the founding dean of BITS Law School, and his colleagues. And down the road, we are also working on a IP course for middle and high school students, because we believe that in this hyper competitive age, it's important that even high school students graduate with some awareness of patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets, right? And to learn more about this, I invite each one of you to spread the news of this free and online course. The QR code is over here, or you can also go to l2proindia.com, learntoprotectindia.com. And I just want to highlight the interest. Below is a picture from a school, an university in Chhattisgarh, which would be an unusual place, where the very foresightful founders of the university, they actually requested the entire engineering student body to take this course. So when two of my colleagues, Nitin Sharma and Ram Krishnan, who were on the call, who went visited them, the entire school showed up to say that, look, we took this course. This is actually a great, again, another testament of the latent potential for learning about invention and learning about joining this innovative ecosystem in the country. The need and the demand is there, and here are some tools that can help with that demand. So moving on to some interesting use cases that illustrate the summation of this innovation potential, right? So I've picked about 6 startups from India from the 150, and I have one more startup actually from Saudi Arabia to illustrate, give you a taste of the various use cases these innovative startups think about. So let's start with Inogil. Inogil is in the field of using AI IoT for maritime needs, and they actually have extended the use of 5G networks for studying both aquaculture as well as monitoring and reporting on water quality. They generally operate in the coasts of India in boats on the beaches, and this is the zone that Inogil operates in. Planis is also associated with the ocean. It's a very successful startup. In fact, you can see some of the logos up here as to where some of their products and services have been utilized. They specialize in building underwater ROVs, remotely operating vehicles. And the way these networks use 4G and then 5G is that under the water, they use acoustic signals for communication. But those acoustic signals can speak to a buoy that is on the surface of the water, and that can either form uh, a secure network, or if it is close enough to coastal areas, it can connect back to the terrestrial network, either a private coast guard or a navy network, or it can connect to the commercial network, right? So this is a way for underwater ROVs to be able to communicate with each other, communicate with a ship, communicate with coastal towers through this network. And so again, this kind of technology is very crucial for ROVs, given India's very long and rich coastline. On the other side of the planet, Dhruva launches nano satellites, and where they worked with Qualcomm is actually to create the space to ground connectivity. And you may say this looks like NTN, and you are right. They actually did this work pre-NTN, pre-release 17, and they were able to actually integrate this within their ground operations requirements. Moving on to 3 more startups. I have a very interesting use case from a 100 5G use case lab. So this one is from Triple IT, IIT, Hyderabad. And what they have done is they have come up with a living lab for helping students in tier 3, tier 4 cities connect to a physical lab via 5G. So, what happens in the physical lab, like the example that I have over here, is that let's say you want to teach a student about optics, how to set focal length, how to study optics. The student can log on to a website, and this website is connected over a 5G network to a apparatus in an actual physical lab. And this physical lab has motor connections so that you can move the focal plane of an object, you can move the lens, and you can set up your optical experiment and visually see what is happening. The students may be hundreds of kilometers away, but she can actually access this physical lab that Triple IT Hyderabad has proved. These kind of use cases make me very, very happy. And you may say, why not just use Wi-Fi? Well, as you know, Wi-Fi is not reliable, and Wi-Fi doesn't give you necessarily always the real-time connectivity that you need for a good learning experience. This team found 5G to be very reliable and useful, given the general pervasiveness of 5G in India. Moving on to another company in the middle, Tech Eagle. Tech Eagle actually is a drone fleet company. They operate entire fleets of drones, and they are generally very active in the northeastern parts of our country. And there they operate vaccine deliveries, food deliveries, medicine deliveries, right? And they use 5G as part of their NOC, and this is for their flight controls and flight operations and logistics, right? And in the remote areas where 5G is available, this actually helps keep track and operate the entire fleet for picking up goods and transporting them from one place to another, right? So if you're operating not just one single drone or few drones, if you're if you're basically a drone flight operator, this is the technology that you need. Moving on to yet another example, and this one now comes from actually a prolific participator in both 5G as well as 6G network design. Neural Networks specializes in private 5G networks and edge clouds. And what they have worked with us on is 5G IoT platforms, bringing in variety of use cases into the orbit of their private network. So I hope that these examples from maritime, from the interface of space, from education, from drones, and from private networks gives you just the taste of the range of things that are possible when you design your innovations and use cases around a very capable air interface. So now let me give you an idea of how AI can be used in the context of a 5G network. So here is a startup called Mobisense. They are based out of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. They came out of a very good university there, known as KAUST, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, one of Saudi Arabia's top universities. These guys already had a private 5G network. When they came to us, we said, how can we actually integrate AI use cases within the confines of the 5G network? So what they did is that, given that they are the operator of the private network, they're able to actually tap into the VoNR, voice over new radio traffic. So now they came up with two UE applications which can be used for detecting spoken utterances that are embedded within the VoNR traffic. So the way their use case is pertinent is that, imagine you are at a oil and gas site, and a field operator, he picks up his PTT device that is operating on this 5G network, and he says that, hey, you know what, I'm smelling a chemical leak, or I see some smoke, right? And he just relays this to his site supervisor or to his colleague. The network in the VoNR traffic actually detects those keywords. And when it detects those keywords, it can actually start the safety procedure, the standard operating procedure of that installation. So let's say it's a refinery, right? Even before human beings can start reacting to what just happened, the network itself can start triggering a series of agentic actions, right? If a shutdown of a particular valve is required, if a drone is to be commanded to take better pictures of the zone where this problem is happening, if a fixed camera has to start, if sampling of factory parameters needs to start, right? Whatever is written in the safety operating procedure, within the confines of that, automatically an AI agent takes active use of this. Another use case is, now let's say the safety operator now needs real time assistance, right? Again, the Vona traffic itself, instead of going into the deep cloud, it can actually use a server co-located with the base station and provide voice guidance to the operator as to what he can do in the specific operating condition that he sees. And the way they simulated this work is they use a Qualcomm Snapdragon based laptop. In fact, the laptop I'm using for this call, they used a Qualcomm Snapdragon laptop to run that AI agent co-located with their base station. Obviously, there are Qualcomm-based devices on which the PTT application is running, and then in the near cloud, they actually used a inference engine that is also running on a Qualcomm edge cloud device. So this is not in the deep cloud. All of this is happening within the co-located to the DU of the 5G private network, right? So, speaking with my colleague Ramesh Rao, who has he and his team have supported our Saudi Arabia startups, we feel like this is actually a very good use case for B6GA colleagues to think about when you start envisaging the various cases that are available with 6G. In fact, the point of bringing this use case to you is to say that you can do many of these things now with 5G advanced in readiness for 6G. You don't have to wait for another 1,000 days to start thinking of what the use case can be. The work can be done now. So that brings me to an aspect of edge AI. So obviously, it's not a surprise to you if I say that when we started operating in India 10 years ago, we used to have many machine learning use cases. Believe it or not, there were use cases with computer vision, with voice recognition, and such, right? But obviously, lately, there are a lot of generative AI use cases. But these use cases tend to fall into about ten patterns. And in fact, we wrote a blog about it. So you can go to this QR code and read in more detail what I'm going to summarize in the next few minutes. So what we're finding is that Edge AI works really, really well when you are interfacing the physical world with real-time intelligence, similar to the MobiSense example that I gave you. But that is the obvious piece of it. What we're now finding is that when AI is actually embedded into a retail or an industrial or a consumer workflow, you actually reimagine the workflow. It's almost like what used to be very difficult, Edge AI has made it easier now. So now you can think about the rest of the workflow and say that how do I redo this workflow so that it's more useful, because the easy part is now being done by AI. Moving on to real-time intelligence. Earlier, it used to be that you collect reams and reams of data, send it to the cloud, wait for the word of the cloud to come back. You don't have to do that anymore. You can process the data and run the inference loops as close and with very little latency, close to where the action is needed. And you bet now we are seeing lots of agentic AI use cases where literally agents are reasoning within tight parameters, right? And automatically they are taking actions based on those tight parameters, right? But now you don't have to write the code for all of those use cases. You just have to have the atomic tool calling, the atomic use case calling, and within those, the agents are able to actually do lots of different scenarios and actually even anticipate scenarios that would have normally required hard coding, right? So this is where the value of agentic systems come in. They, if crafted and engineered properly, they're actually quite robust for new situations, even before you in past that would have required you to write code for. We're also seeing a lot of enabling tech. This is actually a huge area for India. Custom silicon, edge AI stacks, purpose-built silicon that are coming up for this use case. We are finding, especially in India, many use cases for democratizing AI, for making AI accessible to every tier of society in every type of device as possible. It's not just that the AI has to run on a $1,000 or $15 phone, right, or a $1,000 laptop. There are many use cases. In fact, if you want to use a Arduino machine learning device, it actually costs about $45 that you can buy an Arduino device on which you can run machine learning use cases. Another area that we are finding AGI to be very important is to protect data privacy. Many enterprises, many corporations cannot release their data to the public cloud. If you take a legal firm cannot go to your client and say that, hey, I took all your client confidential data and put it on a public chatbot and I gave you the results. The client will actually not allow a law firm to do that. In that case, you actually need the AI running on prem in your laptop or in a local server. So now that the public GPT's capabilities are now well understood, well known by us, the workload is actually coming down to how to do this on the other side of the firewall, which is immense, right? That's actually where most of the world's data lies. The most of the world's data does not lie in the public network; it actually lies in private networks. Similarly, sovereign AI models. Of course, India is very proud about Sarvam. In fact, if you think about the use case of India, it probably represents some of the world's most complicated and rich environments for being able to utilize Edge AI. Indians speak 700 active languages, 1500 dialects, right? And that alone, and most Indians actually mix वर्ड्स फ्रॉम डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस when they मुझे ट्रेन का टिकट चाहिए मुझे यहाँ से वहां जाना है रेलवे प्लेटफॉर्म नंबर 2 में राइट so in what I just said I actually mixed Hindi and English in the same sentence. Most AIs cannot deal with that, yet in a multilingual multi-context a nation like India, that is the kind of AI that is needed, and that you can design using sovereign AI models. There are other areas for working on environment resilience. And of course, at the core of all this, AI has to be in service of humanity through safety and trust. Without this, none of this technology actually matters, right? These, in a very brief way, I explained are the 10 trends that we are seeing for bringing edge AI to the plethora of devices that I had shown you earlier in the call. Everything from a phone, a laptop, a wrist XR device, a car, an edge cloud, a robot, right? These are the 10 design principles or 10 use case principles that we are seeing the use of edge AI. So with that, I come to the end of the talk, and then we'll go into the Q&A session. I wanted to emphasize that by now you realize that 6G is a AI native system. It's not just merely a faster network. And I hope I have inspired you to think about the entrepreneurship side of 6G. Yes, we have to work on the technology, we have to work on the standards, we have to work on deployment. But actually, in addition to all of this, what India is exceptionally good at is actually finding a billion use cases for the citizens. So my humble request to you is that please look at the big picture here. It's R&D, it's IP generation, it's standards deployment, and then all of these are the concrete steps that we can take towards Viksit Bharat 2047. So with that, thank you, Dhanyavad, Jai Hind, right? And I'll move to Q&A, please. Pathak ji?
Yeah, thank you. And I think really we are grateful that you covered nicely, especially that what are the various initiatives you are doing for the startups in India with the various institutions. And I requested in the chat box certain questions. Already I shared, so I'm sure that you have already covered them. But one of the questions, let us see if you can just see public chat. Then let us start with the Aswani Junjunwala. So his thought process is that how can we cover these courses under the NC weight VT aligned NC QF approval courses like under Skill India. So there, if you feel that that is relevant, then you can. Otherwise, if you feel that that is not under jurisdiction, please say. And more important is Mr. Rajesh Tuli, CMD of Kural Telecom. In fact, he talked to me also, and he's on the call. I would like to thank all that they just want to see how Qualcomm can help in with some. Let him. I will give him also chance. But first, you uh, Ashwani Jhunjhunwala query.
Yeah. So we work closely with various branches of the government. Speaking on the IP side, which is where I come from, we've had very good discussions with Professor Unnat Pandit, and we have several initiatives within the IP community to get Learn to Protect India. It's a free and online course, right? By the way, 23,000 Indians have already taken that course, right? My goal is to get to 1 lakh. So please help me get to the 1 lakh goal. We're also talking with AICTE to see how this can be integrated in the university curriculum. So, schools, vocational colleges, universities, research institutes, wherever anybody is inventing or doing research, they should also have some understanding of IP. And it doesn't always have to be patents. It could be copyrights, trademarks, geographical indicators, as and when entrepreneurs need it, right? So that's the focus we have from the IP courses. So simple answer is we made it free and online, and we're adding more and more courses to this academy thanks to the partnerships we have with National Law University, with BITS Law, with Liquid, with an entrepreneurship entity called Turn IP, headed by Dr. Rahul Kapoor.
So the
Shall I
next
go to
question.
the?
Yeah,
Huh,
please
go
go
ahead.
questions. Then we can take up the chat, public chat. Yeah. First, you go through the
Yeah.
questions, whatever you might have not covered. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I covered all the questions that you had sent me in the Word document. So let me go through the public chat. So there is a question from Mr. Tuli about the kits. So particularly in my team, we operate in the government affairs division of Qualcomm, and our goal is always to get SDKs easily available for startups to use, right? So obviously the best offering we have right now is a Arduino kit. Arduino, our children are growing up learning coding and embedded deployment of Arduino in schools. So the cheapest Arduino machine learning kit is about $45. You go up from there to about $75. You get a card with 4 GB. You go up to $100. You get a card that is capable of running easily 10 tops machine learning load. You go up from there in the $200 range, you get cards that you can use for running like 20 tops workload. You get a laptop now today for $600, $700 that can actually run a 45 tops workload, right? And then from there on, you get into more and more capable devices where you can process multiple computer vision streams, and those get to the higher range. But everything from, like I said, sub $100 and beyond, there's an entire spectrum of use cases. But more than the platforms, the hardware is only the simpler part of it. It is the operating system support. It is the device driver support. It is the model that the models that have to be brought in there, and we have tools for converting your model. In fact, one of our platforms known as Edge Impulse can take your data, right? Your time series data, your vision data, your audio samples, and you can take an existing public model and train it with your data and take that customized model and use it for your operation. And this is something Edge Impulse offers as a service, right? Beyond that, you need agent orchestrators. Beyond that, you need different kinds of data sets, right? So in the age of AI, frankly, thinking about models is going back a few years, right? You have to kind of think of this entire stack and how you can move forward, maintain it, and keep adding AI capabilities within the orbit of the same model, right? And this is the world. In fact, we operate startup programs in Africa, which is even economically more challenged than India, and we are seeing some very excellent use cases coming out of the length and breadth of Africa as an example, right? So again, what I would say is that more than Qualcomm platforms, use this Arduino and other platforms that have embedded Qualcomm chips. We have made it very easy for you to now develop use cases and applications. All right. Then moving on to Dr. Tripathi has a question of few example use cases of agentic AI in 6G RAN. Actually, there are many, many use cases. One of them I gave you from the basis of the Mobisense use case, where you can tap into the VONA traffic and take agentic AI actions based on that. Extending that same idea, kind of think about heterogeneous agent networks where, let's say, um, you are able to perceive a traffic not forming, right? So either because of heavy traffic, or let's say rains, or because suddenly a cricket stadium has completed the game and people are getting on the freeways, you can dynamically see that, affect the agent, open up the pathways that are needed to be able to handle that surge, the traffic surge, instead of degrading the service for everyone, right? So this kind of dynamic traffic shaping is where we feel that 6G agentic networks, for instance, can do very well. Another example I'll give you is that right now, if you think of future interfaces with AR glasses, AR glasses are the most challenging environment to operate in. They have to operate on like 500 milliampere hour, basically one tenth the battery power of your cell phone. Yet they have to actually computationally do more difficult work on the AR glass than on your phone, right? So in that case, you have to actually offload a lot of the AI computation. Some of the rendering you have to offload to the nearest base station and provide the rendered use case back to the AR system, right? So there are many, many use cases. In fact, I direct you to look up a GSMA study that has come out with about 120 imagined use cases of 6G, right? And these are the ones we have to use for inspiration and start building them today in using 5G advanced networks, right? All right. Okay, so I see a question about radio and M6 handset for railway requirements. Okay. Then moving to Dr. Pamela Kumar is here. Good evening, ma'am. Um, Collaborating on elective offering at BTech and MTech level for IP and entrepreneurship, as well as standards and SEPs. Yeah, done. Because this is easy for us to support because we have the course material on L2 Pro India, and it's easily available for folks to work on. All right. Any other questions or comments?
So can we have a discussion on this, because we are actively trying to develop a syllabus and a curriculum.
Yeah, we can. I'll make sure, Dr. Kumar, that one of my team members speaks with you. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, please connect me to somebody.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request anyone else, if anyone is interested, they can raise the hands. Otherwise, we are at the end of our session. So, anyone, if they would like to speak, like Ma'am Pamela, just they can do so. Please raise your hand. I don't see. Someone has given some public chat. Can you? What will be the requirement of AI governance per se in 6G AI native networks?
Yeah. So there are multiple elements of AI governance. So one thing is the use of AI will be very well mandated in the standards, right? So effectively, what 6G is doing is what used to be the domain of, let's say, um, heuristics based calculations. Now, within the tolerances of the 6G network, AI will be allowed to operate within that, right? So the governance issue there is actually dealt with by um, by power limits, by standardized testing. None of that is going away, right? You'll still need GCF, you'll still need operator testing, you'll still need to meet the SARS requirements for usage safety, right? None of those are going away. But what the beauty is, within those constraints, now you can use AI instead of heuristics to be more adaptable to the environment. Now, if your question is about the application layer, that will be actually governed by regional policies. In India, it will be India's AI policy, data privacy policy that will govern that. Similarly, in other regions of the world, right? So think of it as one that is embedded in the network, has a lot of freedom within AI, but it's governed by compliance parameters. And outside of the network, which are more in the application layer, fall within the typical AI areas. All right. So there's a question about product development and can BCGA support request. I saw this request. I will take it to the relevant group inside Qualcomm about. I think it's more related to chips and software, right? My comment earlier was about the startup community who can use development platforms and SDKs. It's ready to go. You can literally buy it without any Qualcomm involvement, right? All right. Then there is a question about the latency in introducing agentic AI in 6G radios. So um, it's not so much the agentic AI driving the latency. The fact that we already are able to do sub millisecond latency in 5G, that is being actually taken over to 6G. Frankly, in my opinion, some of the sub millisecond latency hasn't really been deployed widely. There are few examples in dense factories where it has been done, but it hasn't necessarily done in a wide scale. But if you kind of go back to my earlier comment that if the network traffic volume increases from 3x to 7x, and within that, a third of that is AI, and even within that, it's machines doing the communication with each other, hence the agentic AI, you can imagine that being able to leverage the 6G intrinsic low latency will be actually very critical aspect of it. I hope I answered Irshad's question, but that's the way I kind of think about the usage of
Uh,
latency.
Thank you. I request you to please, if you feel that you can share your email in the chat box, that if anyone interested, they can directly raise a questions to you. Otherwise, I know you and Jitendra and Vinos. So I know, but I think you feel you can share your email subject, I think, in the chat box. That's the first. Another message I have that you completed two courses of 2 months each from MIT. Those were the driving innovations with generative AI, computer engineering in October 24 and November, and then again deploying AI for strategic impact, computer engineering. So this is a message for all of us that even we have to, in this age also, we have to study. So always we have to update ourselves. So this is a message I can see from your LinkedIn account. And with this, I would like to thank you and request Astha Sarma and other my colleague Faisal Shah, who have made this possible. So Astha, can you just give the vote of thanks?
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. And on behalf of Bharat 6G Alliance, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to a distinguished speaker for today, that is Sudeepto Roy, Vice President Engineering at Qualcomm, for delivering such an insightful and inspiring talk on from deep tech to lasting impact, entrepreneurship on the road to 6G. So while hearing, I was also, it's such an impressive talk where you shared that 6G is going to be a living network and it will be a digital nervous system that will learn and adapt in the real time. And the journey, how you shared the startups journey, how they are leveraging the platform of Qualcomm, it's really very exciting to learn about, and seeing the Indian innovations taking the lead and being at the center stage. So I look forward for more such innovations coming from India. And thank you for such a wonderful talk which you have given today. And also, I would like to thank all the participants who has joined today and shared the questions. From the responses also, we got so many questions through sharing the form only itself, which we shared to you previously. And finally, I extend my gratitude to the team at Bharat 6G Alliance for organizing this session and continuing to foster meaningful dialogue across the technology ecosystem. Have a great day. Thank you all for joining.
So this will be
Thank you,
available
Akhtar ji.
on our YouTube as well. So we'll be just placing, though it was going on YouTube, but it will be again edited version on YouTube. Thank you really, and thank you all, and good day.
Jai
And he joining from US location right now. It's 10 p.m. So thank you, thank you for agreeing. Thanks.
Hind.
Thank you.